meeting to order. First is the designation of alternates. Anna will be seated for Jill. Otherwise, everyone's here. Great. And just a word that most of you in the audience might be disappointed to hear, that we first have a public hearing that is in the works, and that has to be first on the agenda. So having said that, this is a public hearing for the Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission. The hearing will please come to order. I am David Colbert, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission and Chairman for this hearing. In compliance with state law, a transcript must be made of everything said at any public hearing of a Planning and Zoning Commission. We are doing this by means of a digital voice recorder, which is now on.
I left mine at home.
Oh, wait, it's recording. That was just me. Okay.
Technology. For the purpose of the record, let me state that it is now 7:07 p.m. on December 8th, 2015. This is a continued public hearing, SP 235/6. So, and it has to do with special permits for a detached accessory apartment, section 8.10, apartment uses in residential zones, and sections 4.4 and 4.6, proposed accessory structures outside of the buildable area, 198 Dibble Hill Road. Objection.
Good evening. For the record, Dennis McMorrow with Berkshire Engineering and Surveying, representing Richard Mandicio, 198 Dibble Hill Road. With me this evening is Stephen Lassar, architect, 20 Bennett Street in Milford. We opened this public hearing in the October meeting, and the commission had some concerns with the project, and we went back to we've had several meetings, conference calls with the owner, and there's another architect, Y Architects, out of New York, and we have done, I think, significant changes to the plan, and I'm going to hand out one large set of site plans, and then two, the architecturals, and I'm going to go through the changes that we made for tonight's meeting.
Quick clarification, Dennis.
Yes.
Anna was not here at the first continued public hearing.
Thanks, Dennis.
These are completely new maps, so in some essence, we're starting from the beginning, but your written testimony and revised meeting criteria of the special permit stands in terms of a lot of the issues that we have.
Yes, and I will work my way backwards to that for what I believe is still pertinent to this application. And if you have any questions, I have the old plan on the backside
Okay,
of the board that we can refer back to if we need to for the change.
I just want to make sure that I have, that because Anna was not.
We still have a quorum in terms of, we have enough people who were at the previous meeting.
Okay. The first major change that we're doing to the plan is we are withdrawing the accessory apartment section portion of the application. If you recall, we had a detached accessory apartment. Here's the main house, existing studio, the driveway coming up. And then farther up the hill, we had a detached structure with what we were applying for an accessory apartment in. We're no longer applying for an accessory apartment. We are simply applying for an addition to the house. It will contain the fourth bedroom, like the accessory apartment, but it does not have a kitchen. It still has the swimming pool in it, and we have designed a connector, and the architectural plans that I have along with the site plans is showing how architecturally we're going to connect the building. So it's the fourth bedroom, so the septic component of the plan still is pertinent because we need to expand to have that fourth bedroom. We remind the commission that we had submitted last month the approval letters from both State Health and Torrington Area Health for the connection and the expansion of the system for the fourth bedroom. And per section 4.3 of your regulations, for an expansion to existing structures, sections 4.1 and 4.2, your buildable areas for properties that were in existence prior to those regulations being enacted, that those buildable areas shall not apply to expansions of the existing building. We also had, off to the side of the driveway, we had a detached garage in this area, and the garage was completely within the steep slopes, the 25% analysis. The shaded area here. And what we have on the plans tonight is a garage that is essentially built in front of the studio, and so that's in an area that is not in the steep slope or buildable area analysis. And we have also connected that with roof line to the existing studio. So we have two existing structures. We're expanding both of the structures. The existing septic tank is here. We have enough gravity to feed the addition with the fourth bedroom into the tank. It goes down. There's two existing rows of concrete galleries, and we are adding one additional row, one 54-foot row of concrete galleries to get the septic up to a four-bedroom design that we need to have that fourth bedroom. I believe it was Commissioner Tyson last month requested that we know the disturbed areas that we had on the plan. Now, I didn't calculate the past, I only calculated what we're presenting this evening. And the existing septic, which is what I believe, or the proposed septic, which is what I believe we still fall under for the special exception for section 8 of your, or excuse me, section 4 of your regulations. That proposed septic has an additional 0.14 acres of disturbance. The drainage, we talked about the drainage. There's existing drainage problems coming off the hill, and we've designed a swale with grading, a pipe that used to go in front of the garage here, but we're still maintaining it for a parking area. And then it comes down another riprap swale, crosses over into a plunge pool here. That drainage is 0.11 acres of disturbance, and the two additions onto the existing building are 0.36 acres of disturbance. So we have a total of just over a half an acre of disturbed area of 0.61 acres. I broke it out into those different components for the commission. So we have eliminated the accessory apartment. We're adding a 4th bedroom addition with a pool. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission or members of the public have.
Thank you for this presentation and for your flexibility in adjusting your plans given the restrictions of the site. Are there any questions from the commission or comments?
I'll go. The existing septic system is a 2 or 3 bedroom?
The existing house is a 3-bedroom house.
Right.
The existing septic that was designed by Dave Wilson, the records that I could find in Torrington Area Health demonstrate that it was a 2-bedroom septic.
Okay.
So you have the 2 rows of galleries, and that's a 2-bedroom septic for a 3-bedroom house.
Right, so you're increasing design flow by more than 50%.
And therefore,
sure.
that's why the health department requires that we add.
Right,
If it were
understood.
a 2-bedroom going to a 3,
You'd be
we
fine.
could just show the B100A and not have to build it, but
Okay.
from a septic standpoint, it's a 2 going to a 4, and the
All right.
health
So
department
you have to
requires
add on. All right.
I can tell you, when we were doing the detached structure, Matt from State Health, Matt Pollock, requires that you analyze what's going on in the existing system before he grants the central sewer waiver.
Mm-hmm.
And both galleries are dry,
Mm.
both rows,
Right.
because it's a weekend house.
Sure, sure.
It's just not
Yeah.
getting the use, so.
Yeah, the lower one probably never sees anything.
No,
Right.
and the upper one was, I opened up the far end, but even that was dry.
Okay.
What was the pool? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
Right here, it's an infinity edge pool that's part of the patio of the addition.
This right here,
Yep.
Could I make a comment?
Any other questions from the
I just
commission?
have a comment.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
So, having not been at the last meeting, it's apparent to me that there were significant issues in complying with the accessory apartment regs that we have, and I congratulate you on finding a way around it. And I also congratulate you on the delightful low profile of this building.
I can't take any credit for the architectural aspects of the
Really
plan, but
engineered.
I will pass that along
Yeah.
to the owner.
I'm sorry, Torrington Area has seen the revised plan.
No, Torrington Area Health has not seen the revised plan. The building I don't anticipate a problem because it was designed for the fourth bedroom. From the health department standpoint, where the building is, doesn't matter unless I'm creating a nonconformity for their sake, but I am modifying the septic and bringing it back. I actually don't need state health now because I'm not required to have a central sewer waiver because it's all one building. So now it's strictly Torrington Area Health signing off and not state health.
Any further questions or comments from the commission?
Just for clarification, because I know the answer to this question, there's no changes in terms of activities within wetland soils, correct?
Correct. The septic was in the regulated area and we've made no change to the septic. The septic tank where we're tapping it and where the additions are, your regulated area, that's the orange line on the map here, so we're above that.
I knew the answer, and if there were even any minor changes being, this was in upper areas, it's an administrative change, it doesn't have to go back to the Wetlands Commission.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak in favor or against this application? Okay. James, are you looking something up, or?
Just looking.
Okay, so, can I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So, make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Now,
That can actually just go back
you are staying now, right?
Is that?
Are you staying or leaving?
Depends if you're voting or not.
Well, I'm wondering about changing the order of the agenda. If you're planning to stay, I won't change the order of the agenda, and we'll discuss this promptly, soon.
Then we'll say.
Okay. So,
Thank you for the option.
okay, so, I'd like to ask for a motion to change the order of the agenda to put item 4, pending applications SP 235/6, up next.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, SP 235/6, special permit. Well, it's all changed now. It says for detached accessory apartment. We'll have to rephrase this. Anyway, it's this pending application.
The only question really is the septic system is
Yeah.
in the buildable area, but at this point in time, that's what the approved septic system is, and it's approved wetlands, and it's approved by the area health.
Well, technically, it still has to be approved
Yes.
by Torrington Area Health. Can I hear a motion to approve application of 235/6?
Can I just add, because there's a lot of people in the audience that might not be aware of this, and this commission is very well aware of this. All special permits that come before a planning and zoning commission, there's general standards and there's specific standards. The general standards, basically, as Dennis has addressed before, refers to section 810, in which he gave details for the accessory apartment, which is no longer part of the application. The other piece is proposed accessory structures outside buildable area. For this commission to approve any special permit, they have to look at the sections of the regulations, which are all your general standards and your specific standards, which is a long list of issues, including health, safety, and welfare, septic, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. McMorrow did, and that's the reason that I asked the question, was there is a narrative on file in which he did address all the general standards. That's available for anybody to see, and it is part of this record. So the commission, in order to approve a special permit, has to agree that it complies with all the general and specific standards for all special permits.
So we need to craft the appropriate motion.
That's correct. Do it now?
Yeah.
Well, we can,
It shouldn't be too hard. So,
I move we accept the amended application.
are you accepting or approving?
I'm sorry, approving.
and should we say pending Torrington Area Health
Yeah,
approval?
right, at
Which is
It's redundant.
kind of obvious anyway.
Right. 198 Dibble Hill Road.
And we're approving it as to the
As-
specific site plan which you have in front of us, which the details of some of the details right in that box right there. 'Cause I can't see it.
Yeah, so this
Do
is,
you want the date of that plan?
Yep.
10/9/2015.
It's actually overall site plan prepared for Richard Pandisio, 198 Dibble Hill Road, West Cornwall. Prepared by Berkshire Engineering, dated 7/13/2015, revised to 10/9/2015, revised to 12/8/2015.
Okay.
And that would be the detail. That is the site plan, the specific site plan that you're approving, as well as the two second sheets, which includes the site plan, again, prepared for Richard Pandisio, same address, same dates, and the erosion and sedimentation control plan. All three of those are dated 7/13/2015, revised to 10/9 and 12/8/2015. So that is part of your motion, as read. And then,
Is there a second?
second,
Any discussion?
and there's a determination that the commission agrees that the application, according to the site plan and oral testimony, complies with all general and specific standards. Is that, I'm
That's
just making sure that it's part of your
that.
motion?
Yes, it is.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
again, thank you for your time.
And now, for, So I'd like to hear a motion to move item. Okay, to move item 5, correspondence and communications received. I guess items 5 and 6. 6 being the land use official and zoning officer's report to the top of the agenda. So, a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so item 5, correspondence and communications received.
You want me to do that?
Sure.
In your package, you have correspondence from the Cornwall Conservation Trust, dated November 23rd, to the Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission. Request for support of the Mohawk Trail Preserve through an open space grant from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. This commission has done letters of support in the past. It's usually been prepared by staff for your, for you. It will probably incorporate a lot of the language in this, but if that would be your direction if this is something that you want staff, including Mr. Mallon, to weigh in on and provide a letter of support.
And we do have a deadline which is immediate on the this letter. Right?
February 2nd.
Yeah. So, is there a sense among the commission that, if there's a sense among the commission that we're inclined to support that, then I would suggest I compose a draft of the letter for us to
Thank you for that.
review at our January meeting.
I would support that.
I agree. It seems like there was a lot of work that Mark Jones did, specifying out, identifying the town plan resources, why it's important for the community. It seems like a lot of homework is done along those lines. So
I like that trail, it's all on ridge line. It should
Okay.
be preserved. It really doesn't have any buildable areas that wouldn't be a problem.
So do we have to have a vote on? Okay, so that's that's okay with everyone on the commission?
The January meeting,
Yeah.
you're gonna draft it and
I'll
get it.
draft it and we'll discuss it at that meeting. Okay, so that's 5K. 5B is emails, correspondence addressed to planning and zoning with a whole bunch of names. And
I'll
you
read,
wanna say
I'll read the
something about that?
yeah, I will read the correspondence, and I know a lot of people, have the expectation that their correspondence was received. I will start and try to do this in somewhat chronological order. December 12th, correspondence from Kate Green, 344 Cream Hill Road. This actually was from Nora Prentice, forwarded to David Colbert, my office, and was forwarded to all of you electronically. Again, a letter from Elise Pettis, 23 Jewel Street, dated 12/4, forwarded from Nora Prentice to David Colbert, land use office, again forwarded. The third one from December 2nd, from Todd Piker to the Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission, again forwarded out to your commission. This was all done electronically. We have a letter that was dropped off, I believe, from Mr. Michael McCracken, dated December 3rd, addressed to David Colbert, Planning and Zoning Commission. We have correspondence dated December 6th from Ira Shapiro, from West Cornwall. Again, this was scanned in, I believe, and forwarded to you. We have a letter from Bianca from the Wish House, dated 12/6, a letter, a handwritten letter as well as an electronic version from the Wish House, an attachment which included a Lakeville Journal article by Vern Henschel from West Cornwall. I found this today, a letter from Ian Ingersoll, Cabinet Makers, 422 Sharon Goshen Turnpike, to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Again, another email, electronic letter from Ann Trowbridge, and I apologize if I don't pronounce that correctly. That was sent to David Colbert and forwarded to the Planning and Zoning Commission electronically. It's from 12 Adams Road. A letter from Marcus Stacy Hampson dated 12/7/2017 to my office. I have the attachment, and I have included 2 letters of response regarding this matter. There is, we have, if we were to read all these letters into the record, we probably won't get home tonight till after the wee hours of the morning, and follow up so that there is an understanding that all of this is not going to be read for the record. Let me see, there's a short email from Laura Prentice dated 12/7/2015. One, again, to David Colbert, from Stephen Cake, Pismo Beach, California, and forwarded electronically. A letter from Sebastian Beckworth containing a letter from Lynn and Sam Waterston. That was received today. And then we received a letter from Sebastian Beckwith to the Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a letter that contains
maybe about 150.
140 signatures. And then the final piece, which will be discussed as part of the zone officer report.
Here's a letter.
Okay. This is to David, obviously received by David and from David Cowan and Valerie Fisher. Again, this is probably now made part of the record. And the final piece is correspondence this afternoon that went to Don Bardot from the Office of Kramer and Anderson regarding enforcement, and this will be discussed more under the zoning officer's report. I just want to say that all of these letters, I think you're all aware of the fact that this is a response to the ZBA appeal from November 5th against the decision of the zoning enforcement officer. That is, when I act in that capacity, I'm not acting in that capacity. This time I'm the commission secretary. And these letters were all expressing views. They've all been made available to the public if it's the commission's wishes. I will PDF them all and make them available to you, but it's a pretty big stack. And I think David has something to say about all these letters.
Well, you want to, but that's the correspondence.
Yes.
So we'll go on to within the zoning officer's report. This is the discussion of this.
I guess David and I talked about the fact that, there has been a lot of correspondence received from all of you that we've made every attempt to get out to you. And I think that this commission, I can speak on my own part, appreciates it. All the work that's been done, and that's...
Okay, so before we even start on the discussion, I'd like to handle any issue of possible recusals. I've had a member approach me asking whether it would be appropriate for a recusal because of possible conflict of interest. If one reads the law very technically, probably everyone here would have to recuse themselves because we all have some personal interest. We're all landowners in Cornwall, and we also probably all have some connection with one of the people who wrote on this issue. Now, Tom, do you have anything to say about recusals beyond that? I mean, if anyone is comfortable on the commission, if anyone feels they are unable to be objective for some reason, then that, you don't really even have to explain the reason. You could just say you don't feel you can be objective, and then you would recuse yourself. So,
Well, I think it has to be applied in a little bit more rigorous way. A commissioner has a responsibility to listen and decide on applications. So if you just feel a little uncomfortable sometimes, that may not be enough. I mean, it's an uncomfortable job a lot of times. Yeah, no, I just want to, I'm not disagreeing with this, but I think the literature shows, and you're right, the statutes are very general, and therefore we have to go based on case law and experience with this very general statute. The very general statute says no member of the Planning and Zoning Commission or a ZBA or Wetlands Commission can't participate in a hearing decision where he or she is directly or indirectly interested in a personal or financial sense. Now, what does that mean? That means more particularly that you're in a position to gain financially, or you're in a position where someone representing the commission is a relative, or you live very close to the property in question as a result of this hearing or decision. And even in those cases, for example, in the case of a neighbor, and a commissioner was next door to a neighbor who was opposing an application or in favor of it one way or the other, very adamantly, and the question became, that commissioner who was the neighbor, should that commissioner disqualify him or herself? And in that case, the commissioner said, well, look, we are neighbors, and we went over there when they moved in, we had a nice how do you do, and we went to so-and-so's funeral, but you know, we don't engage with them socially, they haven't been over and had dinner, they haven't had us over for dinner. Oh, we really don't think this is a conflict just because they're next door. And the court agreed. That was a court case. The court agreed. Just because you're next door doesn't mean you're in conflict because of the particular matter of the relationship between that person and the neighbor. So, and in the case of financial gain, obviously, if you're in a business relationship with an applicant, that's enough. That's clear. If you're employed by a company that stands to gain from the approval, well, that's enough. So there are certain things that are very clear, and we could go into more. I don't want to go through all of it, but I've got a list of them, and then I'll circulate it. So, and Dave, it's a difficult question for sometimes the commissioner to answer, and so sometimes you should seek and allow a commissioner who's so concerned to ask the commission's attorney, here's my situation, do you think I should disqualify myself? Is it rise to that level? Those, I'll circulate some guidelines for you all to look at.
okay, so I just wanted that to be on the table. Now, as we, of course, this is an issue that has stirred the passions of Cornwall, and I'd like for us to proceed in an orderly fashion. So I have something I'd like to read here. The major decisions I'm hoping we will take at this meeting are procedural. We need to understand what transpired at CBA and what implications that has for us. Then I think we probably will need to gather more information before deciding on our course of action. In order to proceed in an orderly fashion, I would like to ask the audience to refrain from questions or comments until after the commission has discussed a particular point, and then limit any questions or comments to that particular area of discussion. Of course, the public is free to write to us with their comments, as we've seen. So the first very particular point I would like for us to address is our understanding of what ZBA said. From the so far not approved ZBA minutes, Attorney Grimes explained to the board that there were two major principles. The first involved the fact that regulations in Cornwall are permissive, which means that unless the use is clearly allowed in the regulations, it is prohibited. The end of the minutes of the ZBA said that the ZBA board respectfully requests that the Planning and Zoning Commission look at the zoning regulations to address the issue of renting of dwellings. So, I'd like to, my understanding of the essence of the CBA's ruling, and I would like to ask Tom for his response afterwards.
David, excuse me, a point of order. The ZBA could not agree on what the content of their motion was, and that is why the minutes are not approved. So I don't see how this board can act on that.
We
I
are
mean, you can act
here,
any way you want, but I don't see how you can reference that.
we are here because of a process that occurred within ZBA. I don't see how we can not acknowledge it. So the question I have is, does the issue boil down to taking the advice of the town's lawyer and saying that if it is not permitted in our regs, it is not allowed? Now, that's not a matter of ZBA or anything. That's the lawyer's advice about our regulations. And so it seems clear that we, planning and zoning, have to address rentals in some form in our regs. I think we would have been at this same place if it hadn't gone to the ZBA, but anyway, is that a general, would you say,
Yeah, I think,
phrasing?
yeah, yes, Dave, but you have the room and board regulation and the B&B regulation, but those don't deal with the instance where you have a single family home that's subject to the rents the entire home. Because it's not a B&B, it's not room and board. But we also know that's been going on in this town, and every town in this area, everywhere, forever. And the question, and it's been viewed as something that's customary and incidental. Most towns do have the so-called permissive zoning, and yet do not have regulations governing short-term transient rentals of the kind we're talking about. We cover B&B and board. So why is that? You have to ask yourself, why is that? Why have towns not done it and regulated this? It's going on, we know it. So it has to be because they view it as a permitted use, as customary and incidental. Now, that whole context of the past and history has changed with something called Airbnb. Because that's now being advertised, and it now has the appearance of being commercial. And that changes the context and the regularity, perhaps, of these short-term rentals, the increased incidence of short-term rentals. So, even what Pearlie says, in my mind, is not the last word. There are other factors here. So, it's complex. The whole issue is infused with developments of recent times in technology and how business is being conducted in a different way. And it certainly requires further examination. And there's no easy and quick answer. That would be my
But would you say that it behooves us to address this matter in some form in our regulations?
I think you put it very well. I mean, it's been raised by the ZBA, it's a contentious issue of the town. You see these people out here are concerned, you have all these letters. Absolutely, I think you need to sit and think about this and look around. What are other towns starting to do to respond? And when you do, you see that in cities and in larger towns, more populated towns, they do have regulations regarding now short-term rentals. It hasn't crept into the rural towns very much, at least in northwestern Connecticut. Although we see Sherman has had some amendments, and that's just come across in a memo from Pearlie. But I've read through that, and I don't know if that really gets to the heart of the matter either. So, yeah, Dave, it's a long answer, but yes.
Now, are there any
Could I ask
questions?
for a point of clarification?
Hopefully only on this.
It's on this issue. It has to do with our relationship to the zoning board of appeals. My understanding, and I need to be corrected if I'm wrong, is that they made a ruling on a specific appeal of Karen's actions, and then they made a recommendation. We can consider their recommendation, or we can choose not to consider their recommendation. Is that correct?
Well, yes, I think that is correct. That's coming on next. I just wanted for us to establish at this point if we think addressing the issue of short-term rentals is appropriate for us.
Yes.
That's the very limited question at this moment. So,
If we don't,
So are you taking a straw poll here, is that what you?
among the
Yes.
the,
I'm with that.
commission.
if we don't do it, we do it.
Yeah, right.
So we have to,
Yes. Okay, so, so that's now established. The next important question I'd like to ask Tom is any enforcement action of what CBA did required at this time? And we must bear in mind that their minutes have not been approved, but eventually their minutes are going to be approved. So, assuming their minutes will be approved, is any enforcement action required of us at this time?
Well, the very fact that the minutes haven't been
But we're
materialized
going to come to this.
begs answering that question.
No, but at some point they're going to approve it, and then we'll have to ask ourselves, do we have to?
Right.
Well, I would suggest that the, because we have agreed to address the matter, we are adopting the issue. And that the zoning board of appeals is not really the proper board to make regulations. They're the proper board to interpret our regulations. And since we will be addressing this matter in the form of some kind of new regulation, I would suggest that it would be inappropriate to require an enforcement action from the
Yeah,
ZBA.
I think the answer to your question is the ZBA takes an action and affirms or denies the action of the ZBO. And based on the facts of that case, and each case is different, each use is different, each set of circumstances is different. And you have an overwhelming evidence that there's a violation of the regulation. There's no question in your minds that it violates your rules as you interpret the rules, and the facts are there. I think you have an obligation. You have an obligation to enforce. Is that the case here? You have to ask yourself that question. If it's not, you have to step back and say, from my own sense, if the ZBA is not in full agreement on what they said at that meeting, then things are certainly unsettled. And I've already stated what I felt is a very fluid environment in terms of this particular issue. In my sense, it would be premature and perhaps hasty to go out and across the board try and ferret out these short-term rentals and take an enforcement action. I personally am not clear that ZBA is correct in what they said, or they are, or maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. I think there's a lot more information needs to be gathered. So I don't think you move forward with an enforcement action unless you feel quite confident that this is the right thing to do, the law has been violated, that there's no question in your minds, having heard from the ZBA. Now, the ZBA could say, well, maybe we'll sue you because you're not going out, you're not doing that. And believe me, that sort of stuff happens, because commissions do differ.
Yeah, Gordon is quaking in his boots.
I'm not advocating this.
And I would like to weigh in as a zoning enforcement officer eventually to correct some statements that we made as well.
Can we get a sense of our group about whether we feel strongly the law is violated and that we have to move to enforcement?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate at this time.
May I begin by saying no?
Is there anyone on the commission who differs with that?
What was the question?
Do we believe that a law is broken and that therefore our zoning enforcement officer must take action against the Airbnb renters?
Well, I think what Tom said is correct. I think you can't, under Karen cannot enforce anything until the minutes are approved. And then we would have to, well, that is only Board of Appeals, what they say is they interpreted our regulations. Am I wrong in that, Tom?
No, I think you should wait to hear what they have to say if they're still not certain of what exactly they intended. And that could change the context of what they've in draft said. Unapproved minutes could change as a result of that discussion.
Should be a little bit premature to.
So we should wait.
Anything can
Yes.
change.
We should wait.
You're dealing with
So I
an
would say
unfinished book.
no enforcement until we get a solid ruling from the ZBA.
So,
And then,
so you would say, take up the matter of possible enforcement at that time?
correct. But we don't know what it's gonna be, so let's just see what it is. We can make a lot of assumptions.
Does anyone have any other point of view on the commission? Okay.
I would just like, as a zoning enforcement officer, who's responsible, who's charged by this commission to enforce, I have been doing this for a very long time. I'm aware of what I can and cannot do, because I have been in situations in numerous towns in which enforcement can be troublesome. I have concerns, as I know this case law, there was some remarks made in the public hearing that enforcement appears to be simple, that is knocking on doors. I had not solicited this from Attorney Pearlie Grimes. I had solicited it from other land use attorneys that I know of in my 14 years in land use. I would just like to read this, and this did come from Kramer and Anderson this afternoon. It relates to a CEO's scope of authority to enter and search private properties for purposes of enforcing zoning regulations and determining the existence of any zoning violations. Essentially, absent permission of the private landowner, a CEO cannot inspect private property unless the CEO first obtains a court order based upon showing of probable cause. Absent such a showing in court order, the search of private property is considered to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment. And it goes on to say that there are numerous cases confirming that any person damaged by violation of local zoning ordinances has a private right of action and can commence suit to seek enforcement of the regulations. In my past experience, I have, in numerous occasions, gone out with police escort because of not just veiled, but absolute threats that one, of facts to the first selectman in another town that anybody trespassing on this private property could be mistaken for small animals and shot. I have always sought to and the person that wrote this had mental illness, and I think that a lot of the issues that we're seeing in terms of zoning enforcement officers abiding by town attorneys stating that zoning enforcement officers do not just go on private property and knock on doors and expect to be treated with open arms when they inquire as to questions, that it is a safety issue, and therefore most town council, and I have talked to probably 20 or 25 other towns in recent weeks and days, that there is pretty much consensus that a process of enforcement has to be protective of property, owners' rights, and also the health, safety, and welfare of staff, in which I am enforcing, in which I am asking respectfully that that be considered. Like I said, I have been escorted by many a state trooper. I've also had a false police report against me for trespassing, and it was a false police report, but it did not make me feel real good for quite a few months until it was resolved. So I think that that is another piece of solid enforcement practices have to be understood. I think there are a lot of people that do believe that town officials have the right, whether it be Torrington Area Health, building official, even the zoning enforcement officer, have the right to access properties. In most cases, as most everybody on this board is aware, when I have gone on your property, I have had a zoning permit in my hand, a wetlands permit, and I have been given express permission to be on that property. In the case of knocking on doors, that is not. I would just like to put that out there. I think it's something that really needs to be considered. Thank you for listening.
Okay. So next up, as we move towards the discussion of framing a regulation, I just wanted to have some clarity, which I think Anna was alluding to earlier. I just wanted us to be clear as to the question. Do we need to try to frame a regulation that implements the ZBAs or implements any recommended solution by the ZBA, or are we free to come up with our own regulation that we feel addresses this issue? So that's a question for Tom.
Well, I think whenever you have a case where there's been great agony in trying to decrypt the meaning of the zoning regulations, it certainly is a clear case of a need for clarity. The need to go back and look at this regulation, presuming that's something you want to do, and feels important to do. To make it clear that it is or is not permitted, if it is permitted under what conditions.
But that clarity is,
In the zoning regulations.
and that's up to us
It's up to you.
to make, not the ZBA.
Yeah, the CBA has ruled on a particular instance, and I guess the premise is that having ruled as they tentatively have, that this then would apply to all other similar instances. The Planning and Zoning Commission, however, has the responsibility to step back and look at this issue in the context of the entire town, the town plan, and a broader range of thinking. They're very narrowly focused on the meaning of the regulations, and then they're no suggestion that perhaps you should establish some rules, distinguish between the definition of short and long-term rentals, and regulate one and not the other. I mean, that's, as you pointed out, that is a suggestion, that is an offering. But the ruling was on that particular case. You take that particular case and decide to run with it across the board and enforce it. We've already discussed that. No, your problem is you've got an unclear regulation, and you have to decide whether you want to go ahead and do something about that, or leave it be, or you have several options.
Right, and the CBA was making a ruling based on our regulations as they exist at this moment. And we are embarking on the consideration to change our regulations. So we would assume that, given an identical case after a process is concluded and our regulations are changed, we would assume that CBA would rule in a different manner. So I think that's all clear. So finally, I think we're at the stage of how to move forward, and I'll open it up to the commission after I make a very brief statement of things, just to start the ball rolling, of how I see it, and then see what everyone else thinks. So I think that more information is needed to decide if we want to end up with less or more oversight of short-term rentals. Part of this is determining what the limits of our regulations are legally. Are we allowed legally to just allow short-term rentals with no oversight? Or are we allowed legally or to subject them to very substantial oversight? I would suggest that we ask Tom to do some research on the range of our options, and get back to us, hopefully at our January meeting, with some more information about those questions. That's my 2 cents.
I have a comment, correct me if I'm wrong, but having less regulations on short-term rentals could possibly put us back in the same position
Well,
we're in, right?
you know, I think there is some possibility, not positive, that we could state in our regs that short-term rentals are as right.
Okay. But so that would be, we would add some definitive language in the regs,
Yeah.
but not any new stipulation. Okay.
That might be a possibility
I understand.
at one extreme of the spectrum.
Gotcha.
Does anyone on the commission to add something or question something?
No, I think, so I understand it correctly, we're going to address the short-term rental somehow, some way, and we're going to add more stringent regulations to it, or we're gonna say basically that there is no regulations.
Or something in between?
It's something in between, or something in between, correct?
Yeah, that's, and
What are the options?
Yeah, just making sure, that's,
I guess I would throw the ball a little bit again in Tom's court and ask if this, what we are proposing is, in your opinion, specific enough, or if you would like us to be more specific in what we are asking.
What? The more specific you are, the more focus I have in my deliberations, but I understand what you're saying. We want to know what the range of options are from the simplest to perhaps the most regulated,
Yeah.
the least and most.
You know, I don't expect we will resolve this at our January meeting. The process would probably be such that we would hear from Tom and then narrow down on our, what we would want to do. Is this enough for everybody?
I think that's a good idea, at least to find out if Tom has an opinion or ask him on the legal aspects of the decision, so that we have some boundaries, so that we don't spend a lot of time in terms of draft regulations that might not be
Exactly.
upheld, and have a legal basis to stand on. I think that's the whole point for us to move forward. It's not going to waste everybody's time.
Well, that implies then you have a legal opinion. You're not asking me for one.
No,
Right.
Now, I think this is too much of an emerging issue in planning and zoning, certainly in rural communities. Don't forget, cities and some of the larger towns in the state have a charter form of government and don't operate under the Connecticut General Statutes for planning and zoning, which all small towns do. I'm familiar with the small town option. And as I said earlier, cities and larger townships that operated under a different kind of charter instead of statutes can have much broader discretion in what they can do. And I think you raised the fundamental question. You know, I've always felt that it's not been an issue in these small towns, and now it's becoming one. And I would like the option of being able to, or you, ask that fundamental question of, now you have Curly as a town attorney, right? Isn't Steve Byrne your consulting planning and zoning attorney?
Well, is he,
We have it soon in the past.
but we also have Pearl.
Yeah. Well, in Curly's case, relates directly to the facts and circumstances of what was before the ZBA. And I'm not sure we've heard all of what Curly thinks about this from a broader perspective of planning and zoning, looking at the town plan and the zoning regulations and so forth, aside from this individual case, which is apparently representative of others, but nonetheless, lawyers have to deal with the facts of the case at hand. And you're stepping back and looking at the broader picture.
It's possible. Of course, Pearlie has been putting a fair amount of thought into this recently.
Could I say something about that, about the role of the law?
Yes.
The law follows social change. It follows societal decisions. It does not lead.
We aren't going to lead the law here.
Well, I would like to just say that I hope this commission can try to be thoughtful in responding to these societal changes that are happening and that are sometimes frightening to people. That we we should have the capacity to be responsive to the changes, not stuck in the past, not attached to old regulations that no longer assist us. We need to be innovative and flexible and think about Cornwall's future, its economic future.
And legal.
Well, that's exactly right, that's your job.
I don't
That's
care
a
what
good-
other towns
That's a
do.
good definition of.
Cornwall can be the leader. I know I first you did.
Well, I would suggest that Steve would be a good person to talk to because he operates throughout the state and he deals exclusively in planning and zoning matters. So this is certainly something that's come onto his table, more so than Pearl. Pearl's a terrific lawyer, don't get me wrong, but he has a wide variety of things he deals with.
Yeah.
I did
Up
talk to
here.
Attorney Byrne regarding this matter, and he brought up some very interesting points.
Well, maybe I should talk to you.
Good start.
Yes,
That'd be cheap.
I would rather,
Is there,
he's motivated.
is there any further discussion among the commission on this matter?
I'd be curious, it seems like we have a lot of people here this evening that have concerns, and what their show of hands in terms of proposed, if they would like to see regulations, if they don't want to see regulations, just as a curiosity, because this process in all likelihood will probably take us some time to actually move forward, and I don't think we're going to have this kind of enthusiasm in our room again, perhaps, for a very long time down the process.
You underestimate Cornwall.
It's kind of boring.
I don't know.
So do you want to, so do you want to,
Sure. As a show of hands, is there a general feeling that you
Point
would...
of order, you say in your agenda that it's a discussion only between the board, and I think a lot of people didn't come tonight because they didn't think they'd have an opportunity to speak, and I think you have to go by your printed agenda, and your printed agenda says it's only a discussion of the board.
I think that might be a good way to accept that.
And to not...
Yeah,
show of hands.
right.
Okay.
Because we have received a lot of letters to a huge, we have opinions from about 150 people.
Maybe this should be brought up at a town meeting, a well-publicized town meeting, and let the town body decide it.
Well,
Throwing that out.
so let me,
There were two town meetings.
I just want to,
I would
This
like
is
to,
already
been
hold it.
vetted. This case is
I want
already
to ask
been
if there's
vetted.
any other
Decision has
opinions
been
or
made.
discussions among the commission.
So I would like to say that first I'd like to apologize for opening that door because that wasn't my intent. And I probably should have been better prepared according to what the minutes actually read. So I'm sorry if I
Okay.
gave anybody false hopes of what the outcome would be. Certainly I wasn't going to treat that as some finalized.
Okay. But,
Yeah.
Dermot?
I think the Board of Appeals have made a decision, and we should stick with that decision and discuss this and come up with a proper resolution to this problem.
Is there anyone else on the commission who would like to add anything at this point? Now, at risk, and I will cut it short if it goes on for too long, but we've heard from a lot of people in written form, which is the best form. And so I would ask if there's anybody who has an opinion to state on this subject, that they write to us about it. But if there's anyone who has a question about how we are proceeding in our addressing of this topic, I would invite questions from the audience.
I repeat my objection based on your agenda, David.
And then you could ask, people could ask questions about our process, no?
It specifically said in the minutes that the discussion was limited to the board.
I
And
mean,
it's not-
in the
Yeah.
agenda,
Yes,
Unfortunately, she's right.
I mean, I
Okay,
don't
well,
talk to, but I mean, I
yeah,
think
thank
it's
you.
not there.
Yeah, thank you, Joanne, for once again keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Can you read one of the letters?
To read all of them.
No,
I-
it'd be hard to choose.
It
Okay.
would be very difficult.
I would say that I advise everyone to read all of the letters, which I have done, and I find them very eloquent and respectful and courteous, and makes me, pleased once again to be in Cornwall.
How
So
do
all the
we
letters
read
that
all
went to the ZBA will be forwarded to the Planning and Zoning Commission. All the arguments and all of the discussion had before the ZBA has to be reiterated to
I
the
don't
plan.
know.
Point
I'm
of
not
order,
sure.
Stacy, the commission has received a lot of the ZBA correspondence that's already been forwarded to them. Minutes, correspondence, because as many people are aware, I PDF correspondence in, after every ZBA meeting, all the correspondence was made available to the ZBA members and was sent off to them. It's available from me. Nancy Lacko is the recording secretary for the ZBA during this process, because I obviously couldn't play two roles, but I will make a concerted effort to make sure that everything that I have received in terms of the written correspondence starting several weeks ago is put in a PDF form and is available to anybody that would like to read. Everything that David just referenced is very eloquent and, thoughtful letters on all sides of the issue, and the correspondence has been made available, planning and zoning, and it is available in the office under freedom of information. Electronically, it's a push of a button. Frankly, it's easier for me, and it doesn't kill as many trees in terms of, making copious copies of this, but I will try to make sure that all the correspondence that is referenced is made available to anybody that would like.
How would one access it?
If I will PDF it, maybe.
We could put a link on the Cornwall website,
I will do.
all right?
Thank you, I will send it to you, Richard.
All right.
And,
So that will be all correspondence, that will be all.
so Stacy.
Whatever you want.
The correspondence to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah, so Stacy, if you want, if you're concerned that some of your correspondence, if you may not have gotten to us, I would, that you wrote to ZBA, if there's anything that you wrote to ZBA that you want to be completely sure that we see, I would just suggest you write to us and attach everything you want to attach. So we will be sure to see it then.
But there were other people also who wrote.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will point out that there are copies of the entire ZBA hearings that we made, that, we don't have transcripts because we don't make transcripts unless there's, need, frankly, by going to court. It's a costly process, but there are recordings of the hearings, and I believe, Richard, you have.
I recorded the last
Which
zoning,
has been up on the website,
it's
so
on the website.
that is available as well, so.
And,
And again, freedom of information requests to the land use office. Normally, freedom of information requests are put in writing, electronic transmissions I accept, and you can ask for them electronically, and I will do them as quickly as I can.
we do have other items on the agenda. We have to,
I have to finish up my report too,
okay.
okay? As soon as you're done.
Well, no, please.
The one thing I was going to announce to the commission is that I normally don't unplug from email, but I am taking vacation December 27th. I will be out of town. There will be a response on my computer. There is no one in the office. I have someone that will be acting in my stead in the wetlands we have an authorized agent. Roger Kane is an authorized agent. So he will be acting in my stead under wetlands, but I will not be available basically from December 24th to January 2nd, that you will receive a response back my telephone will state that. Hopefully I keep my message on. So if you have things that you like before, limited time, I have limited time. This is, 6 hours a week, and when I come on weekends to do inspections, but you're welcome to send what you can. I'll do the best that I can. And I'm going to quickly segue into the back of zoning permits quickly, because I don't think you'd like to get out of here.
Well, we're going to have to go through other items on the agenda. So we are going to move on with our agenda now. So back to item 1, applications for zoning permits.
Okay, all
Are
right.
listed at the end of the agenda.
They're pretty self-explanatory. The shed, I referenced the fact that the appeal for Magnolia, Brian Magnolia was approved, which is expansion of a non-conforming property, or non-conforming Hampton Properties, is the final changes to the Cornwall General Store. And the last one I wanted to discuss with you, because it's an interesting fact, is that a zoning permit was issued to Mariah Bernardi back in 2008 for, I think it was a 4-bedroom house. The septic system, the driveway, and maybe even the well is in place. She's had some family issues at the death of her husband, and she's coming back to build a cabin on the site, which doesn't require septic and well, because it's a cabin, but she is building a house which is basically only going to be 400 or 500 square feet. And in some towns, there are some issues about the minimum size for a house, which according to Steve Byrne, Tom Byrne, is not legal. And I think that I would be very remiss in not allowing her to build any size house that she wants on her property. And that's what she's doing. She's putting a teeny tiny house with people on.
Can you clarify that it's not legal to establish a minimum dwelling size?
Years ago, Tom Byrne said that I think it was 684 feet was illegal because it basically reduced the capacity for people to have small houses. It was kind of a way of...
Yeah, no, it's discriminatory.
It is discriminatory, and now with smaller houses, it really is something...
Okay, are you saying she will not have septic or water?
She already has it, it's already on the site. And with a cabin, you don't have to have septic. You don't have to have septic approval. She's
So
putting a
it's not
cabin.
a dwelling, it's a...
Well, a cabin is defined as a building having design for facilities and or character suitable for seasonal or temporary living purposes, and which is occupied for no more than 120 days during any one calendar year.
So she just wants to skirt our minimum.
We don't really have a minimum.
We do.
We do.
But if you're occupying it for 120 days a year, don't you need to have some means of waste disposal? I mean, isn't that... No?
Cabins, that's a
You
fine.
gotta be out by 120
Yeah,
days.
you can have a little, it's
You can
it's
hold
a
it.
cabin without any.
Who's gonna go up there and like pick off the days, you know?
That would be an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
Oh, brother. But I'm saying that in terms of the fact that I know that
Okay.
minimum houses requirements are really illegal. But in this case, I just wanted to bring it.
And
What's the
particular-
minimum size that we, in our rights?
So, supplementary Article 5, minimum
This is
livable
James's.
floor areas. It's been on my
Yeah.
to-do list
Yeah.
since day one.
Yeah.
The following minimum square footage shall be required. A single-family dwelling is 800 square feet.
Yeah.
Accessory apartment, 350. Apartment unit created as a result of conversion, 450. Cabins and other temporary dwellings, 250.
Oh.
Municipally operated dwellings used to house indigent welfare clients, 350.
But if we didn't have this minimum, would they have still applied for a cabin? Or,
No, it just came to my attention that she's putting cabin. I just thought it was an interesting thing that normally the problem is with the cabin and getting facilities, septic into a cabin. In this, we have everything there for the single family house and we're getting a cabin. But I think the minimum square footage, which is pretty,
You know, there's building codes that Paul already has enforceable in terms of accessibility, doorway minimums, things like this, bathrooms, et cetera. So for us to have a redundant minimum requirement, I think if somebody can be efficient in how they design their home.
well, James, we'll have to bring it up.
But how come
That's
it's
right.
only now that we get to discuss it? I've been pressured this.
No, you could bring it up any.
It's a sign of the times, James.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
we're evolving.
You could just
Right,
say
the
you
Walton
wanna
House,
Put this on the
you know?
agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm all for it.
You know, I mean,
Let's put it on the agenda.
I thought I would bring it to your attention because Paul brought it to my attention. He said, are you gonna get in
No.
trouble for this? I was like, nope.
Poor Amelia has been suffering through this long process. Hopefully you've been interested in it, but can we move item 3 ahead of item 2? So if Amelia wants to go home afterwards, she can go home. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so new applications, SP 237, Amelia Deniergarn and Rinker Buck, owners applicant special permits for a bed and breakfast establishment, section 8.13, room and board of, or a bed and breakfast of
Yeah, I was, okay,
of
so,
a bed and breakfast establishment, and section 8-19, home occupation. 56 Essex Hill Road, set for public hearing. This will be set for public hearing in January.
yeah, right, you need to make a motion.
So can we have a motion to set this for public hearing in January?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing in January.
Okay. Will there be time with all the other stuff?
You'll be first.
So there'll be a big crowd.
And Amy, I apologize for messing this up, but you have too many syllables.
Oh,
Or
Yeah.
too many vowels,
Too
excuse
many
me,
vowels.
vowels.
you didn't mess it up, it's fine,
Okay.
perfect.
So we're now on to item 2 of the agenda, approval of the October special meeting minutes. Can I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Somebody was here.
I was here, I'm just skimming once again.
I gave you the. I know, and I looked at them and they were okay with me.
Is that a while ago, right?
Oh, no, there's something. See you soon.
I don't see any issue with them, Karen.
So, well, you know, we can have a motion to approve and then a second, and then we can have discussion.
All right. I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? And people can have time to review them a little more.
I know you've got so many emails.
He was too busy reading all those letters.
Let's save that for later.
Okay, so, hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's done. And, who knows, we might get out of here before 9.
Meeting dates.
Yeah, I know. We're on to other, and also, we have to do election officers.
Okay, what's the,
When did that happen?
oh dear, maybe it is today. Do it in January.
Yeah?
I congratulate you on how you handled the meeting.
Me?
I second that.
Yes, you
Thank you, Dave. Good job.
It's not over yet.
One step at a time. So, but we're on the 7A, so the meeting dates for the year 2016. And I noticed there isn't one on Wednesday this year. Isn't there always one on Wednesday? Because
Not
of
that
something
they
or
came up
other?
with anything, no.
I mean, something.
No, they're all pretty much, no.
But in the past, we've been forced to do one on
Oh, because of like,
some
Fourth of July,
holiday.
Christmas or something.
Some holiday that we haven't.
No, nothing.
Okay,
But what are we going to do? What do you want to do
Oh, right,
about the
January.
planning meeting?
yes, that's very important.
Are we gonna have you had a planning meeting, this would be the fourth one. We started off with, I think, Gordon and Todd. We had one that was like 3.
Well, anyway, we're going to have a planning meeting.
Yeah. Where do we want it in the
And
town hall?
It has been in the town hall the last Saturday in January. And something we haven't, some people have said, well, January is such a bad month for some like weekenders. And then other people have said, well, January's good, it's slow, So I think the end of January is fine. A year ago, we had a good turnout.
And we did last year, and we always have. The only thing January's a fine month to have it, but given the activity that we might get with this, the whole meeting tonight, maybe push it off to February.
Well, but you know what? Only a very minor,
There's also an EDC meeting in February. correct?
in February, we actually are going to have a 3-day town conference on the Cornwall economy, using the Going New York group, which the town has, doing economic consulting. So that's going to be February 5th, 6th, and 9th, and that will be on a weekend. One of those days is a weekend, and it's 2 weekday nights, and it's only going to be a couple hours per, but it's going to be focusing on the villages and the overall economy and what these people have found in their last year of studying the town and suggestions they may have about going forward. So I think that will suck up quite a bit of brain cells in that part of the month.
But, yeah, so that is, of course, the purpose of this meeting that we have every year is certainly broader than this particular topic of rentals.
Yeah, but I don't want this
But-
topic to overshadow that meeting.
It wouldn't, because I would just say that I would give a report of what's happening with P&Z. And every entity in Cornwall that is doing something for Cornwall has a chance to speak. That's the purpose of this meeting.
That's fine.
And are you concerned, Gordon, if we had that meeting the end of January, that it would interfere in some way?
No, it's fine. My own preference would be you're at the start of the year, you've got some new boards, and like our board set 8 things we want to get done in the next 2 years, so it's a good time now, because I just let it go. I would keep on with your schedule.
Okay, so does anyone have a January calendar about Saturdays?
Would anybody, Gordon, do you think there'd be a chance that we could go to the school, though?
I like the town hall.
Oh,
The 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th
It's
are
gonna be a warm winter.
Saturdays.
So how about because in the school we have to hire someone.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's like,
It's our
we're trying
town
to be frugal. So I would suggest that we say January 23rd, snow date, January 30th.
Okay.
In the past, we didn't have a snow day, and that was kind of risky. So,
every day was snow day. Every day was snow day then.
that's true. So can we say that the special meeting, and I will frame, copy and paste the same thing that we said last year, it'll be in the Chronicle, that this is the special meeting to give the chance, much more than planning and zoning. Planning and zoning is a very small part of this meeting. To give the chance of every group in Cornwall the chance to say what they're doing. That we schedule that for January.
With the focus being on how they are responding to the 2010 town plan, correct? Or no?
It's pretty broad, how they are working to make Cornwall a better
Yeah,
place.
it's certainly like an update of what they've been doing, what they're
Okay,
working on.
That's fine.
You know,
It's just that the town plan mandates this meeting.
Right, but I think my own opinion is, why limit it to something that was written in the
I
town
agree with
plan?
you, I was just seeking clarity.
Yeah,
The this original meeting was simply to address the progress on the housing section,
Oh, really?
which is strange.
which was not, it's no
So
longer.
we've morphed into this being a
That's great.
sort of general town plan kind of thinking. So January 23rd at
10 a.m.
10 a.m. snow day, January 30th.
That's very early in the morning.
After lunch?
That's a good excitement for that.
Okay. Okay, so that's okay with everyone? Do we have to have a motion anymore? Okay.
Actually, you're supposed to have some sort of motion for the dates.
Okay, so let's have a motion to approve the dates of the meeting for 2016, including the special meeting of January 23rd, 10 a.m., snow day, January 30th, 10 a.m. Can I hear a motion to approve those dates?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So at some point we have to elect officers, but Karen says we can do it in January.
Because,
Jill isn't here.
Yeah,
Is she an
technically-
officer? Is she an officer?
no, she's a regular member.
Isn't she? She's an officer.
But she's got potential, so maybe we should vote her in.
You're not here.
Well, she's not here.
Let's do it
No,
now.
I think it is better to put her on the agenda.
Put her on.
No, put the election
Put
of
it on
officers
the
on the
agenda.
agenda
Of course.
for the January meeting. Okay, anything else to come before us?
We haven't acknowledged that we have a new member tonight.
That's true.
Peter is,
I hope you're encouraged, I don't know.
It's interesting.
Peter is up and running, he's got his regs and he's got his things.
He's not up and.
You may be quiet, but so
He's
far
not
it's
up.
been
He isn't up and up running, he's in.
So it's interesting. That's what people say about food they don't like too.
You know how this,
Right, so, welcome, Peter.
Yeah, that's the cover.
Right, yeah, we can fight it down.
That's good.
Okay, so is there any other, does anyone want to bring up anything else before we adjourn?
As long as it's not your dinner.
As long as what?
As long as it's not your dinner.
No, it went okay.
I guess the only thing that I wanted to bring up, and I think we were trying to do it a little bit by engaging with the audience that we had tonight, but it probably was, it was definitely a dangerous area to be on. But maybe if we gave them, and they seemed pretty versed in what was going on, but maybe if we gave them a little explanation of how the process goes, because if we establish some regulations on this topic, and we're going to eventually, it's going to go to a public hearing, and then if the town ultimately says hey or nay,
Well, no,
No, they don't, no.
oh, they don't go down the
We
road?
don't,
No.
no.
When we have a public hearing,
They're
yeah,
getting input.
yeah.
there's the input.
As Gordon explained to me when he asked if I wanted to be an alternate, like 16 years ago, he said, this is an interesting board because we're the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government.
Okay. So when we have that public hearing,
For civil law.
we're basically presenting it. Okay.
And the vote is by the commission
But we
only.
shouldn't be listening to them once we have the document already basically signed, sealed, and delivered. We should be.
Well, we always listen to them. Like in the case, I'll bring up the example of the,
Cell towers, we came back.
yeah, cell towers, we altered it. And also because the Housatonic overlay zone, it wasn't even, it hadn't gone to the public hearing part.
No, I remember
But we
the
sort
cell
of
tower.
welcomed questions, and I think I'd like to have an opportunity for, I'm hoping we can have an opportunity for questions prior to the public hearing. You know, I just didn't think, some people, I'm not saying when, but you know, I think a lot of questions that people have were probably answered by us already. And I'm hoping to avoid people asking questions that we would answer. So anyway, we'll see how it goes.
Well, I guess I think if we do a little bit more listening, like you said, have another meeting where we hear what they have to say, and just listen, ask questions and just listen, and then go back and we'll write our ranks.
You also have a lot of information that is
Yes, come
an
electronically.
incredible amount.
And we will get more after Tom does his research, and everyone else will have more then too.
I have a question about, I'm sure people are still going to want to communicate ideas. Should we always defer them to write something down? Or is it something that we could take information and share it with the commission? Or
I like the
how are you
Writing
going to
down
suggest
in a
this?
written record.
Writing down is so great.
Yeah. Should we not discuss it in the public arena?
I've been attempting to avoid, I don't want to interrupt people and say stop talking about it, but I want to encourage them to write whatever they feel onto us.
I don't want to become the victim of people thinking that they can encounter me in my day-to-day life.
Right.
Like political pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not discussing it outside the realm
Yeah.
of this commission.
I'd encourage them to write, right?
Sure, that's what I'll say from now on.
Yeah.
That's why you got so much, because people practice it.
Right.
I'd send it on, just the button.
Anything else anyone wants to bring up before we move to adjourn?
Do we have the complete packet from the zoning board of appeals? For example, we didn't get the minutes from the first meeting. Is that something we need?
I thought we did it from the second one.
Basically, I don't understand them.
Their assignment isn't the same
As
as
ours, so I don't need to
Yeah.
know what their assignment was.
It's a different ballgame now,
Yeah.
because we are embarked on,
Let me take 3 minutes just.
No, I'd say point of order, that you guys are not your way off your agenda. You shouldn't be talking about this. Everybody came here to hear what you had to say. You shouldn't really be talking about that issue anymore after everybody left. Public business, public
Good
life.
point.
You know, I mean,
Joanne is
really,
I
I mean,
retract
I'm
it.
all ears. You know what I mean? I know there's plenty to say, but you really have to do it at the right time.
Joanne isn't even here to make that point.
I'm here for it. so
Thank you, Boris.
I'm just going to make a broad overview of not that particular appeal. The process that this commission has in ZBA, there is a process by which someone can seek an appeal against a zoning enforcement officer or a variance, and it's a very defined process, and very much in which all boards and commissions follow, in that There's timing in which certain information is brought forward, similar to regulatory changes, that it is made available, it is brought to a meeting, it is on an agenda in a specific fashion. There is timing when you set a hearing, you continue a hearing, you close a hearing, you come to a decision. There is noticing before, there is noticing after. All of the record is open to the public. In a ZBA, whether it be an appeal or even a P&Z application, that record, the mapping, all of the written testimony is available for review in the land use file. This has to be a very transparent process, similar to what Gordon has to do even at a board of selectmen's meeting, correspondence, anything that is acted on or is any board looks at, that information is available in a fashion that is appropriate to all. And the ZBA, and P&Z files are kept, people can come see, there's a way to get information in, get information out, but there is a very, very clear process.
And there's state statute governing that process.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, I guess my question that I ask is because I'm naive on a lot of the process, and I've been on the board now for a couple of years. So as far as Peter and Dermot are concerned, you walk in and you don't know the rules and you don't know how it is structured and how it goes about. And we as a board, I mean, I know a little bit more today than I did yesterday, but we probably should explain to Peter and to Dermot how it sort of all unfolds and what our mission is, what we're supposed to be doing. We sort of take for granted that we know this, that we follow the town plan, and there's, you know, and all that, but I think we probably should convey that a little bit more, so not just take it for granted that we know what we're doing, because I think a lot of us don't, we're just quiet on it.
Well, I'm going to say this because budget time and one of the other documents that I should have pointed out is that we have to address, the land use office has to address the budget process, and I have money, I always put money in the budget, which Gordon is very good about in letting me keep a line item in the budget for education, so that people can go, like the fifth Thursdays, Hannah is going to go into the fifth Thursdays, and Jocelyn area put on some very incredible,
Sorry, but that's probably, I'm looking just for real general.
But if you would like me to find somebody to do a presentation, or I could do part, but I know Tom, he
Well,
but
I don't know if we have to go that far, but just a little bit more guidance, especially for our newer members, on what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so they says, oh, okay, I get that.
I just want
Peter came in to see me.
to address that a little bit. That after I came on P&Z, and periodically there's workshops held in the area which are entitled, like the roles and responsibilities of planning and zoning commissioners. And they're usually local, they're Litchfield, Goshen, and someone who's done a lot of preparation for these talks. You know, it's usually actually very substantive, and so and we're always informed about them when they're happening, so keep your ears out, and when they happen, I've found them to be very, very helpful.
And there is money in the budget if there is other seminars, or even if you want to have a seminar on your own home turf, sponsor.
What David actually said is, I probably should be a little more diligent of making one of those. But
Also, there's UConn has a website, and they have training videos for planning and zoning members with all the topics you can imagine.
Wow.
And I forwarded that to you guys after the last Thursday.
Oh,
It was in the minutes
we'll do so again.
of the meeting. But I'll dig it out and send it to Karen to share with everybody.
Question to Anna about, did Governor York ever get back to us about a meeting date?
Mr. Peck has yet to contact me about setting a meeting. We're kind of also waiting to get the regulations sent to him, and I'm going to help Karen do that.
Okay. It's It sounds like also February 5th, 6th, and 9th, they'll be here. Okay. Oh, I know where you're gonna be.
Gordon, is Mr. Peck involved in that 3-day thing?
Yeah, he definitely will, so it'll be good.
Is he going to be talking specifically about how our regulations could be enhanced to help businesses?
Not if you guys don't meet with him first, so I would suggest that probably if you could get together. But I talked to, well, they're also coming tomorrow night. I'm not sure who he is, but Mike Goman's coming with engineer to talk about the West Cornwall septic deal. So,
Yeah, okay.
and then, so I would urge a meeting with Mr. Peck before Christmas or something, just to give him some background.
Well, we're trying. I'll
Yeah.
send him another.
Right, so he may be here tomorrow night, I don't know.
Well, I'm coming tomorrow night, so.
Great, yeah,
So I'll say hello.
great.
Okay, anything else? Anyone wants to bring up? And then can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Some motion to adjourn, make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Any opposed? Who would have thought we'd be out before 9?